YouTube event. Today we have a really special guest I cannot wait to share with all of you. But before we get started, I do want to share a little backstory before I introduce her. And this story is about how my life and my business have truly come full circle. In the early 2000s, when I was starting out as a mosaic artist, and like many others, we did not have access to online courses or social media. And that was huge because nowadays we know how easy it is for everyone to learn so many techniques, which we'll get into later. I did have books and I had a few workshops that I was able to go to. So in 2000, I started my business, All Cracked Up Mosaics. And I was commissioned to create large scale fireplaces and backsplashes and different things in people's homes. And in 2004, I stumbled upon a workshop being taught by Laurel True. And she had a studio in Oakland, California that was just true mosaics, not Institute of Mosaic Art yet. That would be soon to come. And she was going to be teaching a workshop called Architectural Applications. And I jumped at the chance to go to Oakland and spend a weekend learning from someone that knew a lot more than I did. And the 2-day workshop was priceless. I learned so many new things from Laurel, and it was all a lecture-based workshop. She showed us many different things, but we didn't get to make anything. So in 2 days of lecture, I learned so much. And one thing I did learn, which was super validating, is I was doing a lot of my commissions correctly, even though I learned so much from her. So when I got home, my sister asked me, she said, "So what did you learn? What did you think?" And I said, "Well, when I grow up, I want to be Laurel True."
Oh,
And so here we are. In March of 2016, Jerry and I pushed publish on a couple courses for Mosaic Arts Online. And little did we know that we would be celebrating our 8th anniversary and birthday for this huge event. And so I have to say, Laurel, I feel like I've grown up and become my own Laurel True. And you have been such an inspiration to me. And I am so grateful to have you here today. So, as many of you know, Laurel is a powerhouse in the mosaic world, and I am so grateful to have her here and to call her my friend and colleague. So, I'd like to introduce formally Laurel True.
wow. Thank you, Tammy. That was a great introduction. And I am so glad you found your way to my architectural applications workshop so many years ago, 20 years ago.
20 years
So,
ago,
yeah,
exactly. And now here we are able
here
to
we are.
share even more of what we've learned and evolved in our own paths. And that's what today is about, is really learning more about everything that you have done over these last, well, 30 years. But the 20 years since we first met, this is kind of that full circle day that we get to share here with our community. And we are so grateful to have the Mosaic Arts Online and Laurel's community come together for this little hour chat we're going to have. So, if you don't mind, I'll dive right into the questions and start asking you some stuff about you. The first question I have is, do you have any formal art training, or how did it become mosaic in your path in life?
Hmm. Okay, so I do have a little bit of formal art training, and I've taken a lot of classes over the years, but I didn't go to art school. So a lot of people do ask me that. And no, I did not go to art school, but I kind of cruised into being an artist from childhood because I identified that way as a child. I even wrote in my autobiography when I was 9 years old, when I grow up, I want to be an artist.
Mhm.
And I always was crafty and creative and things like that. So most of my education has come through like specialized training programs and apprenticeships. And I really like that. I feel like I've been somebody who kind of wanted to forge my own path from an early age. And so as many people know, I did do an apprenticeship with Isaiah Zagar. That was in 1991. Before that, I was studying fashion design and I worked with textiles and mixed media. So I did a couple of summer programs with fashion design. And then, yeah, I just kind of made my way. I apprenticed with tile setters so that I could get some more techniques to go, continue to work on a large scale. Um, and then about 10 years into my career, I did go to Ravenna and took Luciano Noterni's class. And, if I'm interested in something, I'll go take a class in it. So I'm always learning.
Yeah, we're all always students. And I forgot that we
Yeah.
also have that in common, that we both have degrees in fashion and textile.
Oh, I thought.
So tell me a little bit more about Isaiah Zagar and your relationship with him, and how did
Oh.
you find him to become an apprentice for him, and what did that involve?
Yeah, well, yeah, that was so amazing. What a magic portal to walk through. So I was just finishing college, actually, and this was in 1990. And I went on a trip with some friends to Philadelphia, and I happened upon the Eyes Gallery, which was Julia Zagar's folk art store on South Street in South Philadelphia. Because I was using a lot of eyes in my work, and I was like, Eyes Gallery, what's that? And I went in and went up to this like second floor, third floor, and then I started seeing these architectural mosaics, which I wouldn't have called it at that point in time, but it was like mirror and glass and tile embedded in the concrete, and I had never seen anything like it. It was really wild and super inspiring. So I ended up writing Isaiah a letter and asking him if I could come learn how to do that.
Wow. And then what was sort of involved in your apprenticeship? Did you have to grout ceilings, or what have I heard in the
Oh
past?
yeah, you've probably heard that story. Yes, dear Isaiah, who is a dear, dear, dear friend, and he and his wife Julia are part of my chosen family. Well, Isaiah put me on grouting ceilings for the first 3 weeks that I worked with him, and that was very uncomfortable, as you can imagine, up on a ladder with goggles on, having everything fall on your face. But I suppose it was a bit of a like apprenticeship hazing or something. Um, because he had a lot of ceilings that were ungrouted. So well, why don't I put the new person on it? And it did actually scar me slightly because I do not love grouting, and I have not grouted a ceiling since that I can think of. Um, but anyway, he had me not only grouting ceilings, but we were working on scaffolding, on the facades of buildings, on the insides of buildings. We were doing sculptural forms, all kinds of things.
So fast forward, you just celebrated his 85th birthday with him in
Yes.
Philly. And tell us a little bit about that. And then also, didn't you do some work with him in 2020 during the pandemic?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll start with that. So Isaiah had a commission at the Ace Hotel in Brooklyn, downtown Brooklyn. They were building a new one. And so he put a team together of some of his past apprentices and people that were kind of close in. And we went and worked under his direction. And we did these beautiful whole bath, covered two whole bathrooms in the restaurant area, and did a big mural also in the restaurant. And then we went on to do a big mural at the YWCA nearby, and then we did the facade of the back of a private residence. So we had this whole amazing like multi-week trip in Brooklyn, and that was just super super fun. And kind of going back to my roots, where I'm just
Mhm.
sticking,
Yeah.
which is so pleasurable. It's just like sticking. So that was great. And then, yes, so I do visit the Zagars as often as I can. And Isaiah just turned 85 a couple of weeks ago. And so I flew out to Philadelphia to be with him and his family and his chosen family as well, extended family. And we
Right.
did celebrate over 3 days. It was super fun.
That's fabulous, as it should be. And we should all be 85 and still doing what we love to do. So speaking of that, what gets you up in the morning these days? What gets you excited to get up, and how is your day sort of, because you're an entrepreneur and you've got lots of different fires and irons in the fire and things like that.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I am an entrepreneur and I like that, but I also have a personal art practice, creative practice that I like to lean into first thing in the morning. I mean, really, if I'm answering it literally, I do have a writing practice and I draw, and I have a more contemplative practice in the morning. I try not to like jump right into admin. But yeah, I'm trying to forefront my own personal practice to balance that with the entrepreneurial stuff. So I usually do some drawing or other types of work.
That's awesome. So speaking of your entrepreneurship, I know that you like to call yourself a social entrepreneurship. So how do you see those, the creativity and I guess the business, even though it's the social entrepreneurship, not like just a solid like go to work everyday business. How do those two like kind of practically combine themselves or intertwine?
Hmm. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I really characterize myself as a social entrepreneur. I know what that is, and I identify with that. But I think I'm like myself as more of a creative social entrepreneur, I guess. Um, so for me, entrepreneurism and creativity are really woven together. I have, I guess, built a life for myself that weaves together my creative practice and my business practice, and it kind of flows in and out of that. So I mean, I see it as kind of a natural extension of, I guess, entrepreneurism could be a natural extension of creativity and vice versa as well. So for me, they're really linked, and my business helps to propel my creative practice in that it allows me to have the freedom to pursue my own personal creative practice while also doing other creative things out in the world, which I also love doing.
Well, and it's amazing because over the years, I mean, you owned the Institute of Mosaic Art at one time, and now that you have other ways of being an entrepreneur, it's just like it's incredible the evolution and like the change. It's a very like living, breathing sort of thing. It's not just one path. And
Well said.
you've really it's just been awesome to watch your path, and we've done our own businesses differently, but it's that just kind of we go here and we go there, and it's like and it's there's always this just that for you it's I love seeing how much you're out in the world doing something better, which leads to my next question, that many of our viewers, have followed you over the many, many years. And as you can share, that you started with your West Africa travels and then Kenya, Haiti, and just recently Rwanda. And there's so much to be said for everything you've done. But can you share a little bit about how you've brought mosaic art there and everything that's happened?
Well, I started doing community-based work pretty early on in my career, working with schools and different types of community groups. Then, let's see, I had spent a summer doing a volunteer program in Ghana when I was in college, for one summer. I also lived in Senegal for a year, and I really wanted to go back to West Africa and do a mosaic project because I wasn't doing mosaics during that time when I was a teenager. So, or in early college. So I went to Ghana and facilitated a number of different community projects with a social center there, which was just wonderful. And I just love working with people. I love traveling. I love meeting new people. I like to be immersed in cultures that are interesting and different. And I guess this feeling of not always knowing what's going to happen, I have really always liked that. So I love working with groups of people. And of course, I have I've been doing that for many, many years, but Ghana, yeah, that was a wonderful did so many projects there, and still incommunicado with some of those kids that I trained.
Wow.
Um, and of course, many years in Haiti, and yeah, I just got back from Rwanda and did an amazing project there at a hospital in Butaro that the public health organization Partners in Health built.
So can you share a little bit about between Haiti and Rwanda, there is the common thread of PIH or Partners in Health and Dr. Paul Farmer. And can you
Yeah.
share a little bit about how all that came to be? Because that really became such a gateway for you to be able to share your talents. I mean, there couldn't have been a better partnership than you and PIH.
Yeah, it's been a great partnership over the years. So, I had been working in healthcare settings, to some extent because I did a lot of public art and a lot of commissions, a lot of commercial commissions and things like that. So I love doing art in healthcare settings. But I was in Haiti about 6 months after the earthquake in 2010, working with a youth arts organization to do a mural on the street that was a memorial for the lives lost during the earthquake. On the way back home from that trip, I met Dr. Paul Farmer on a fluke, but I always think there's this cosmic, meaning to everything. I'm so happy that I met him, and he invited me to come do a mosaic in a new hospital they were building after the earthquakes. They were expanding on something that they had already planned. So I did some fundraising and launched and spearheaded this whole mosaic project that lasted. It wasn't one project; it was many projects over the course of many years at a hospital called University Hospital in Mirabelais, Haiti.
And then, is that when you launched the Global Mosaic Project? Is that how so explain a little bit about that, how you have that kind of under your True Mosaics umbrella?
Well, it's definitely when I started working in Haiti because I started spending a lot more time doing community-based work, and I found that certain organizations that I was partnering with didn't have the bandwidth or the resources to do fundraising for mosaic projects. And so I wanted to start an organization that I could kind of like work under the umbrella of. It is under my business, True Mosaic Studio, but
Mhm.
I have a fiscal sponsor and that allowed me to do fundraising. So working and partnering with some of these nonprofits that again don't have the human resources or the time to focus on fundraising for I guess extra things like mosaic, that allowed me to do that and to bring a whole bunch of people into the fold. So then as I continue doing community-based projects, I characterized them as under that umbrella of the Global Mosaic Project because it was also spreading out into different parts of the world too.
Well, and part of that is that legacy of not just getting to go there, but you have trained multiple amazing humans that are out there now doing it in Haiti, and Rwanda. So can you share a little bit about how that where that comes from in you? Is that now that you have the Global Mosaic Project, this is about, making this continue for years to come for other people to have a new resource for them.
Yeah, I guess what's really exciting to me about, well, I love working with people. I love the process of co-creation and co-regulating with people through the creative process. I love being out on the street. I love teaching, but also the legacy that it leaves, not only in terms of creative placemaking in the built environment, but also passing on skills. And so it's been amazing, not just in these international locations, but certainly with people I've trained in the US too, to see this amazing ripple effect where people continue to do the work, they continue to train other people, and it just keeps growing. That's really exciting for me.
And so in Rwanda, are those people that you taught going to continue doing more mosaics?
Yeah, yes, that is our deep hope. So I trained 10 young people. They were about between 20 and 30 years old. And they had never seen a mosaic. They'd never heard of mosaics before. And the PIH Rwanda was such a great partner in finding these community members for me to work with. And they didn't know each other. They became a really tight team. We had a very short timeline to make a huge project that had, a few things went, like, okay, course correct, course correct. Um, and they really had to use their hands. I'm telling you, like 2 out of the 3 types of tools we brought were not useful for some of the materials we were using. So, anyway, they were amazing. I just loved working with them, and the leadership at PIH wants, more, mosaics in the pediatric ward now, and so, we have, leftover materials. I always leave tools behind, and there's desire, and there's places, and we have a team now, so, yeah, they're gonna continue, which is really exciting.
And I have to ask, for someone that has worked in tile mosaic, but locally, of course, how do you get those materials to all of those locations that are just, way out in the third world country sort of thing? It's not an easy process, we know. How do you do it?
Um, well, depending on the location, I'll usually have, of course, like someone I'm partnering with, or a fixer, or something that can do a little bit of recon, and what kind of resources are available. Of course, I like to work with local resources as much as possible, but when that isn't possible, then I'll either bring things in suitcases, or ship things in. So it just depends. I'm very open to working with different types of materials. It doesn't have to be fancy stuff, but sometimes when we want like a specific look or talking to stakeholders about what their goals are, we might need to bring something in from the outside. So, I mean, there is a lot of schlepping involved. And, I don't mind that. I just max out my luggage and bring what I need and then lean into local resources whenever possible.
Yes, and you did have a couple friends that joined you in the Rwanda project that did, I think, do a little, muling for you, shall we
I
say.
I loaded them up for sure. Like anybody who comes and works with me on a project, yeah, they've got suitcases. Yeah, we use we use it. We use our space. That's for sure. But we had to airship in almost everything. Well, a lot of yeah, almost everything for the project in Rwanda because it wasn't possible to find a lot of things that we needed locally, and the project was really big, and there was many different colors. So anyway, we did air freight a lot of things in.
Well, if you haven't seen it, you will have to follow Laurel and you can see the beautiful
Mhm.
tree that was created in honor of Paul Farmer.
Thank you.
And it is truly a work of art. And the hospital is so lucky to have it and to have you. And now this legacy of people that you have taught that will hopefully continue. And
Such an honor.
speaking of those that you have taught, like you said, more on this side of the world, Hacienda Mosaico in Puerto Vallarta. How many mosaics have you made there? And do you have any idea how many students you've taught? That's incredible.
Oh, thank you. I loved teaching there. I really, really did. I think I've done like 12 workshops there over the last 10 years. So, take about 12, 14 people in a workshop. And we've created 11 mosaic murals there with
Wow.
my students. One is across the street in the neighborhood, and the rest were on the grounds of Hacienda Mosaico. And it was just amazing to work there. I just love that place. And the owner, Sam Leonard, was really, really generous with her, not only her space, but her vibe in terms of allowing me to have creative freedom in the design. Students aren't usually involved in the design process because these mural making intensives that I do are only 5 days to make a mural. But she never asked me for a drawing, and I was really able to create a beautiful body of co-created work that reflected a little bit more of my taste and style. It wasn't necessarily like a client situation where I'm working with other people's ideas.
That's phenomenal. But now, as some people may know, the building or the property has been sold to developers, and we're not sure what's going to happen. I know, but talk a little bit about here you are using the mortar, thin set, the grout onto these walls meant to stay. That's what you teach in the world is how to make it stay, because that's what's so
Yeah.
important when we do architectural mosaics. And here it is where it may not be permanent. And can you talk a little bit about the impermanence of art, as this may happen to be?
True, right. So, yes, the property has been sold and we don't know what the new buyers are going to do. And so it is very possible that those mosaics there will come down. So, yeah, it has nothing. Sometimes when something ends, it's not because of a failure, and failure is a tile setting term when your stuff falls apart. It's not a case of that. It's a case of like a more of a sense of ephemerality. And I guess with things that are very structural in the built environment, like a mosaic mural, you don't think of it necessarily as ephemeral. But for me, I feel like I'm gonna keep thinking about all of that beautiful artwork, not just that I created with my students, but that other artists and other instructors created as well. It's going to stay in my mind as all in one place still. And it's going to be the memory of it is so special. Also, the process of it, making that artwork with so many cool people and meeting and working as a group and relaxing in that environment. We'll have the memories, we'll have the process. People learned a lot and just it is sad that those murals might go away, but also over the last 30 years I've left pieces that I know I would never return, or I would think, okay, I'm saying goodbye to you now, mural and amazing group of people I worked with. Or there were structural changes with a building or something did have to get taken down, so it's just, I guess it kind of comes with the territory.
It is, and it's not something I think many of us think about, but I kind of have a similar story that in 2001, I was doing a fireplace commission for a client in West Hollywood, and it was a corner fireplace. So it went on two different walls, and the owner, my client, I loved working on it. It was one of my first ones that I did, and she sold the house. And so then she moved to another one and she asked me to do the fireplace in that one. So I started building my portfolio. And so I asked her one day, I said, could I go back to the West Hollywood house? Do you think the new owners would allow me in to take a photo just so I could have a better picture for my portfolio? And she goes, sure. She goes, just leave your business card in their mailbox. I'm sure they'll call you and allow you to come in. And I said, great. So I did that. Left the thing. They called me and they're like, Tammy, we just wanted to say how much we loved your fireplace. And I was like, that sounded like past tense to me. Exactly. And I was like, oh God. And my stomach hit the floor. And they're like, well, we wanted a bigger kitchen, so we had to blow out the fireplace. And at first I was like, "Oh god." And then I thought, "You know what? I had so much fun. I was so in the zone. I loved making it so much. Okay, so it's not here anymore." And I had a picture. It wasn't great, but whatever. But it's just that energy of like I enjoyed the process so much. And that's where we all have to go when we're creating, is into the process of it. It's not about the end result. It's not about, what the finished product's going to be. I mean, your art and what all there is there at Hacienda Mosaico is an amazing body of art, but you're not going
Mhm.
to be able to go there and hug it every day. So it is great that it's in your mind. You have photos of it. You can, process what it's going to be if it is going to leave. But you're right. The ephemeral of it is really what it's about. And I really appreciate that you have left your mark there that we can all appreciate now in photos, should they decide not to keep it permanently at the building. But nothing is permanent in the world. And so I think it's a really important thing to touch on, is that we have to really love the process. We have to be in the moment of creating, because that's really why we are artists. It's not
Mhm.
necessarily always the end result.
Yeah, loving what we do is an important part of it. Yeah, that helps when you love the process and not just get through the process. When you love the process and you're in the process, that makes a big difference in, like, for me anyway, relating to a final piece. And also getting good documentation. That is key wherever, because even if something doesn't come down, like, sorry about your fireplace, that is such a bummer. But if we can capture it, not just in
Yeah.
memory, but in documentation that will is high quality. That's another great thing. Like these murals at Hacienda Mosaico, I really hope to put a book together that has them all together and what the inspiration was behind the designs and the people who worked on the pieces. So hopefully there'll be some legacy there.
Good. Yes, a coffee table book of your work is never a bad thing. But leading into the other part of kind of your practice is your consciousness to creativity. And can you talk a little bit about how that came to be and what that sort of means in your process?
Sure. So, let's see. So I developed a course right at the beginning of the pandemic, which was virtual, called Conscious Creativity. And really, it was a way for my community to stay kind of grounded and in the present and in a mode of like, how do we process what's going on around us through our creative practice. And so we talked a lot about what, like, grabbing the low hanging fruit, how to engage our hand so that it matches like what we wanted. We feel the desire to create something, but how do we move into that? We talked a lot about those things, and that conscious creativity class grew into a series of 8 different classes that got more and more kind of cosmic, and but not just cosmic. I mean, we dealt with ecology and like social justice and all kinds of things in this conscious creativity class, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful unfolding that I feel like kind of married a lot of different parts of myself, because I do study um, neuroscience and the brain and how the brain and creativity work, and also consciousness studies. Those things are all really interesting to me. So that series of courses really brought that all together.
And you and I have talked in the past about how the brain can change the neural pathways in exploring this kind of practice, shall we say. And, maybe it's not always in mosaic art that you need to be working to start to find your own creative voice. And there's the possibility of working in mixed media like you do a lot of. I mean, your piece behind you and your drawings that you have, it doesn't have to be always the smalty or the glass or the ceramic tile to create with. I know many of us love to do that and we can experiment with it, but there's got to be other ways that we can work to sort of expand ourselves and find that creative voice. And do you talk about that in the conscious creativity?
Yeah, very
uh,
much. Oh, and also I didn't do this. This my
Oh,
friend Tony Nozero from New Orleans made that, but I love it.
sorry. I do. Sorry.
That's okay. So, yeah, I do work with mixed media a lot, and I am a big advocate of not getting too attached to one medium, because as creative people, we can express ourselves in lots of different ways. And some mediums are more immediate than mosaic,
Yes, exactly.
and can be dealt with in a more intuitive fashion, and also that sort of exploratory thing. For example, in my conscious creativity courses, we'll have 1 week, the prompt will be like, use text explore using text or words, or one will be like, take some photographs outside, or it'll be different approaches to seeing the world, different perceptual approaches, and then different approaches to experimenting with artwork too. And so it's that experimentation process, I think, that is lends itself so well to mixed media. With mosaic, depending on what style you're using, there's a lot of rules, quote unquote. It could be rules and it could be guidelines or techniques. But with certain types of mixed media, or even drawing or coloring or sketching, it's a little less rule based. So I think it lends a little bit more freedom.
Creating a course for her that's all art journaling, and it's all about using a different technique, and you can't mess it up, and it's a layer after layer after layer, and it's just so expanding and such a beautiful way to
Mm.
be free. And I really go back to what we talked about a minute ago about changing those neural pathways, because then you're a little bit more confident to experiment maybe with your glass or something. And it should be like, it should be a mandatory course that you get out of your brain and you do a little bit of just experimenting and having fun, so that it can expand yourself, and it all leads back to creative voice. And I think that's what's really important for people to feel like they can have their art mean something because it's their own, that they really aren't just like copying someone else's technique. And I know it's really hard because there's a lot really. So, the next question I wanted to ask you, which leads into, if someone is starting out in their own business and they want to make it, with mosaic art or another medium, what do you recommend with your, you know, we really hear more how it can help other people.
Okay, well, thanks for asking that. So, the Business of Mosaics Masterclass, I developed that based on a lot of years of offering that class, kind of like the one you took, Tammy, where it was a weekend intensive, but I really expanded it, made it deeper, and sort of widened the focus of the class, so that there's different parts of this course. It's 12 modules, but the first 3 modules really help people get clear about what they want in terms of how to monetize some aspect of their creative mosaic practice, or if they want to go full in, what's their vision, how to align values and vision. And then there's a lot of nuts and bolts, like, for people, this took me many years to learn things by doing them, right? But I've put all this together, like how to write a great contract, how to write a proposal, how to price your work, different strategies for that, how to get out there and find places to show your work. So it's great. I think it's a great course for people who are maybe thinking about monetizing some aspect of their mosaic practice. I mean, it could be a really great course also for people who aren't mosaic artists, who are just in the creative arts but want to move into some type of business with that. And then there's a lot of nuts and bolts. It's real deep dive for people who might want to do commission work, interface with clients, write contracts, go after public art, things like that. So the course is pretty good for anybody, any mosaic artist, even if you're making, not making architectural work. But I would say it's swayed a little bit more towards people who are going after commissioned work.
And so, I mean, you and I both scraped our knees a lot learning how to do this. So now you have taken this most, comprehensive course, all the knowledge, all the years, all of your work into this one unbelievable place. So if you are out there and you're trying to cobble together some different parts of how to learn, just do Laurel's course. It is just a no-brainer because it's all in one place. She really like shows you the way, and there you said, isn't there some group coaching, so you're in live on some of the portions of this whole course as well, correct?
Yeah, I love that. It is asynchronous, the course. So when people sign up for it, they can do it at their own pace. And some people want a little bit of scaffolding as well. So I do offer like 4 weeks of group coaching, and we focus on specific modules as the 4 weeks go on. So if people want to lean into that as a little bit of structure, they can do that.
It's awesome. So I have a couple questions here. It's from some of our students that are hanging out, or just some of our viewers hanging out here, and I would love to ask you. So Jennifer Kuhn says, "Do you get pushback on fundraising for art in the face of scarcity? As in people saying that those funds should go toward other services, and how do you respond to that?"
Yeah. Okay. Jennifer, great question. Well, that is one of the reasons why I started the Global Mosaic Project and got a fiscal sponsor so that I could do fundraising outside of these basic needs that some of the organizations I'm partnering with are doing their fundraising for. So when an organization I'm partnering with is fundraising for medical equipment, food for people, housing for people, those are really obviously core things. And so my fundraising will be on the side of that. So the Mosaic community has been amazing, amazing. And I want to thank everybody out there who has contributed to one of the projects that I've done over the years because I'm very clear that we're fundraising for this project and what the benefits might be and who I'm going to train and why we're doing it. And so I think that you know any organization can see value in bringing public art to a space or bringing art to a space. But I think, I guess, just not to get too far off of that question, is sometimes I'll do private fundraising, meaning I'll just, email a certain group of people, or there'll be people who say, I've funded this and I'm really glad to help fund other projects like this. And so I try not to, I try to read the room and not try to lure people away from any type of donation that they might make that could be life saving for someone, or more core than adding a beautification to a space, which, I mean, that's core, but it's not as core as daily living.
Right, right, right. But yeah, come on, these hospitals, if people walk in and there is definitely a spirit lifted because of
For
the
sure.
beautiful art that you have put all over. And I think that is so important. And yours is such a beautiful, colorful, whimsical.
Mm,
They're just gorgeous. And
oh, thank
I'm
you.
so, they're lucky to have it. So our next question is I want my own creative pathway, but how does one transition from one pathway to another? For example, stained glass to glass mosaics. How does one get out into the community other than through social media?
Hmm. Okay, I think that's like a multi-leveled question right there, really. So the one question that I hear in there is how do I transition from doing stained glass to doing mosaics? So that's one thing. And my answer for that would be different than how do I connect with a new community? So the end of that question is sort of a different thing. And I think that in terms of shifting your medium, it's important to get into your workspace, whether you have a designated studio or not, and really experiment. Try, try, try. Get in there and just do it as much as you can. If you want to share that with a new community, that's cool. But I feel like it's important not to get distracted by trying to form a new peer group before you've actually done the experimentation in the medium or the technique that you'd like to flow into. I mean, it's nice to have that support, and I think it's just a matter of looking on social media because there is a niche for everyone. You will find it. Just start going on Facebook and Instagram and liking things and connecting with people in that way, seeing if there's so many local mosaic chapters and associations that you can link into. But I think it's important because I have seen a lot of people that I have worked with put the cart in front of the horse where they're looking for new peer group before, and that's taking over connecting with those peers, the experimentation process.
Yes, and so in there, it's always good to learn. So Mosaic Arts Online is a great way to segue from stained glass to, mosaic glass. And there's also lots of live in-person workshops you can do. So there's always ways to find your segue. And as you know, lots of stained glass artists make their way into mosaic art. And on that note, have do you have an article that's coming out by Lillian Sizemore, I think, soon?
Yes, I do. Um, My dear friend Lil, she has been asked to write an article about me and my work, specifically with Partners in Health for Mosaic and Glass magazine, which is out of the UK. And so she is working on that right now, and it'll come out in the June issue, which I think is issue number 8. So I'm excited about that.
Yes. Yes, June of 2024 will be the issue 8 for Mosaic and Glass magazine. Mosaic Arts Online will also have a tutorial about how to do something. And every issue going forward, Mosaic Arts Online will have a tutorial. So it's just another great way for people to learn and have it at their fingertips at all times. And so I have just one more question to ask you. What do you have coming down the pipe? Are you going to take a little break, or what's coming up for you in the
Oh,
future?
thanks. Well, the project that I just did in Rwanda, and my two friends and colleagues, Claire Barnett and Julia Whalen, came over and worked on that project with me. But we worked really, really hard, and I am ready to take a little bit of a breather before I kind of launch in to another huge project. But I'm really excited about working with these cohorts online. I'm excited about the coaching, and I'm excited about two classes coming up in Portland. And I live in Portland, Oregon right now. So I've got one exterior mosaics and small murals. It's a 5-day workshop coming up at the end of May. There's one
Mm.
space left in that. And then I've got a mosaic mural making workshop, also 5 days in Portland at the first week of July 1st through 5th. So there's a couple spaces left in that one too. I'm excited about that. So I'm also excited about just like sitting outside in the sun and having a summer feeling. Um, yeah, pausing a little bit.
Well, I think that is very important. I think you and I have both talked about how we have gone through phases of burnout, and then we realize we got to come back to center. So I'm so glad you're going to take some time to get in some sunshine in Portland. And we have put in the chat all of the important information. And Laurel has offered a discount up till April 5th
Yes.
for her master class, the mass business. How do you
Business
say it?
the Business of Mosaics Masterclass.
business business of mosaics masterclass, sorry. And so if you click that link, that'll take you right to her website where you'll get the discount. And then we also have her email list that you can join, and also to see her other workshops. So is there anything else? Thank you.
No, I just want to say thank you, Tammy. Thanks for having me. It's great to connect with you and with your community. I know we have some overlap in our communities, but maybe I'll be meeting people for the first time here. So I just want to say thanks. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, it has been so great to have you here, and everyone else that gets to view this. Thank you so much for joining us, and come back May 1st. We'll have Rachel Sager and going over her Beehive community project, which again, is just part of our mosaic community that just keeps getting wider and wider and better and better. And thank you all for being here.